This chapter, titled Nabel Street 29, continues right after Halloran penetrated Daniel's mind, causing Daniel to begin convulsing violently. Halloran reacted immediately and called for help. General Shaw and Hanlon entered with 2 more guards and urgently ordered Daniel's transfer to the infirmary. Once alone, Shaw asked Halloran exactly what he had discovered in the subject's mind. Halloran told him they had located what they were looking for, a revelation that deeply satisfied Shaw. Han, still perplexed by the sudden seizure, asked what had happened, but Shaw silenced him, indicating that it was time to provide the answers he had been waiting for.
We got it.
What the hell just happened?
Looks like it's time to give you some answers.
While at the hospital, March is receiving care from a nurse when her friend Lily comes to visit. Wanting privacy, March asks the nurse to leave them alone. Although initially cautious of Lily, the nurse reassures March that her parents will return soon and steps out. Once alone, Lily expresses her concern over the fact that everyone in town believes she caused March's injury. March comforts her, explaining that she had told people her eye was cut accidentally by her broken glasses and that Lily was only trying to help. She admits that if she revealed what she really saw, she would likely be sent to Juniper Hill, a place for troubled youths. March also expresses her disappointment that Lily did not trust her when it mattered most. With fear and vulnerability, she asks Lily whether something similar might happen again. Lily, unsure of the answer, emphasizes that March is not alone, and the 2 friends embrace, finding comfort in each other. After the hospital visit, Lily meets with her group of friends at their secret hideout and updates them on March's condition. The friends debate what March should do. Ronnie suggests that she should confess the truth to Bowers to help solve the situation, but Will reminds them that previous attempts at honesty had failed. Lily adds that speaking out could backfire, as the police might suspect that March harmed herself and that Lily was covering for her. Rich points out that almost everyone already doubts March's story, which angers Lily, who clarifies that he meant the general public, not their group. While the friends are gathered, they notice a yellow tent moving in the distance and assume someone is hiding inside. They shout for the person to identify themselves, and to their astonishment, Mati emerges. He appears pale, exhausted, and weak, his voice broken as he asks for help before collapsing immediately. The group is left shocked and concerned, realizing the situation is more urgent than they had anticipated.
Help.
The narrative then returns to General Shaw, who explains to Hanlon that the entity known as It fell to Earth along with 13 pillars, buried centuries ago by the Scott-Wapscott tribe to form a cage around Derry. Daniel is revealed to belong to a secret order tasked with keeping the creature locked and the pillars hidden for nearly 400 years. Shaw identifies Nabel Street 29 as the location above tunnels leading to the pillars and instructs Hanlon to lead a recovery mission to reinforce the containment perimeter. Hanlon questions Shaw for previously endangering his family by allowing them in Derry, but Shaw deflects responsibility, and Hanlon refuses to relocate to the base. Returning to the hideout, the children question Mati about his disappearance. Mati recounts surviving in Derry's sewers, explaining that it feeds on fear and keeps some victims alive for its own purposes. He escaped by waiting for its daytime inactivity. Mati shares the grim fates of Teddy, Susie, and Phil. Teddy was killed and eaten. Susie was left to die after losing an arm. And Phil, though immobile and mute, remains inexplicably alive.
But Phil, he's still down there.
He's alive?
He can't talk or move, but he's alive.
Ronnie immediately suggests going to the police to help free her father, but Mati strongly refuses. He fears that involving law enforcement will result in him being sent back to his abusive father. Despite Lily and Ronnie insisting that Mati could testify that he didn't kidnap Ronnie's father, Mati remains adamant, preferring to escape again if necessary, and even return to the sewers rather than go home. His distrust of the authorities underscores his traumatic experiences and determination to stay free. The scene then shifts to a meeting of the Secret Order, who are reviewing the creature's recent activity. They note that the current cycle has been less violent than the historical outbreaks of 1935 or 1908, with 25 disappearances but only 7 confirmed deaths, mostly children aged 5 to 16. The group observes that the creature's discharge has long contaminated Derry's groundwater, and recent behavior among residents appears more aggressive, explaining the unusual conduct noticed by Charlotte. One member references the augury, a traditional bloody event that marks the end of a hunting cycle and signals 27 years of relative peace. Their meeting is abruptly interrupted when a young man arrives with troubling news about Daniel.
You're late. Where's Daniel?
I couldn't stop him.
At the police station, Hank is being transferred onto a bus bound for Shawshank Prison. Charlotte's attempts to help him fail after Hank admits to having an affair with a married white woman, which incites the crowd outside to shout insults. Charlotte tries to speak to him but is blocked. Bowers warns her that the last person sent to Shawshank didn't survive a week, and Hank will be lucky to last 2. In a tense moment, Phil and Susie's father evades officers and confronts Hank, pointing a gun and threatening him, but 2 officers intervene, preventing the attack. During the chaos, Charlotte notices a disturbing vision of an officer with a macabre smile and unnaturally large rabbit-like teeth, which suddenly disappears, leaving her unsettled. Later, Charlotte ensures Hank's legal defense is in order over the phone. Hanlon arrives, seeking Will, and tells Charlotte that he must share something that may seem unbelievable, pleading for her trust. Meanwhile, at the military base, Rose arrives looking for her nephew, Daniel. Shaw reassures her that Daniel is safe and will be released after the operation concludes. However, Rose expresses skepticism. Shaw confesses that while he claimed his memories of Derry had returned upon arriving, the truth is that 5 years earlier, the Defense Department administered a special drug that fully restored his memories. For the first time, he remembers every detail of the summer he and Rose shared 45 years ago. A flashback reveals young Rose confiding in Shaw during that summer, saving his life from a supernatural threat. Through her revelations about his ancestors and the sacred responsibilities he inherited, Shaw finally understands the answer to a lifelong question: how to protect the country. Rose, however, challenges him, warning that the creature is uncontrollable and that remembering the full terror of it would make him halt the operation immediately. Shaw insists they now know where the pillars are, thanks to Daniel's information. Rose, incredulous at the potential betrayal of his oath, ultimately resigns herself, telling Shaw that if he is determined, she will need his help, but Shaw refuses to accept it. Rose requests that Shaw at least allow her to prepare Daniel, stressing that their survival depends on it. In her room, she opens a safe and retrieves the fragment that had broken off the star from which it came to Earth. Shaw permits Rose to see Daniel, and the 2 embrace. Daniel apologizes, expressing that he didn't want to be caught and that someone had invaded his mind and memories. Rose soothes him calmly as he explains that now the military knows everything. Rose, already aware of the situation, reassures him and accepts the fragment he had promised to deliver, whispering a crucial message: keep it close, and he'll be safe. Meanwhile, Han secures his family at the base, assuring Charlotte and Will that the location is far from Derry and safe until the mission concludes. Will, concerned about his friends, urges his father to act, but Han promises that he will be able to see them once the operation is completed. Elsewhere, Lily visits her friend Ingrid. Ingrid is surprised but welcomes her, and Lily explains the recent events with Mati. She reveals that Mati believes Phil is still alive in the sewers, but refuses to involve the police for fear of being returned to his abusive father. Just then, Mr. Stan K interrupts, demanding a perfectly prepared steak. Ingrid insists that anyone who has a child should report it to the police, but Lily refuses, honoring her promise to Mati. Ingrid warns Lily that venturing into the sewers is extremely dangerous and makes her promise not to go. Lily, despite believing they might be able to save Phil, ultimately agrees, understanding the risks and reassuring Ingrid she will not attempt it alone.
Promise me.
Promise.
Back at the base, Charlotte reassures Will that their temporary home, though smaller than their previous one, will suffice for the time being. Will, eager to see his friends rather than stay inside, convinces his mother to let him go for a walk around the base. Charlotte mentions there will be a recreational center, but Will is uninterested, focused solely on reconnecting with his friends. Meanwhile, news reports reveal that the penitentiary bus transporting Hank to Shawshank crashed the day before on Route 9. Multiple casualties are reported, and Hank, the famous homicide suspect, is believed to have escaped. Authorities advise Derry residents to stay away from Nabel Street, which has been sealed under the pretense of a gas leak. At the kids' hideout, Ronnie is furious and saddened by her father's transfer to Shawshank and initially rejects March's presence. March insists she wants to help, but Ronnie distrusts her due to her past association with Patty. Lily defends March, reminding everyone that March herself had been attacked by it. Lily then frames the dilemma. While they cannot force Marty to go to the police, he would be sent back to his abusive father. If Phil is truly alive and Hank's innocence can be proven, they must rescue him. The group ultimately decides to enter the sewers. Marty reaffirms that he refuses to return home, fearing his father. But Lily reminds him that he had previously preferred the sewers over going back to his box and pressures him to guide them to Phil immediately. She gives him an ultimatum. Either lead them to Phil or they will take him to the police. Rich objects, fearing the creature will devour them. Lily, confident in her mother's protective pills, assures the group that fear feeds the creature, so taking the pills removes its power. She motivates the team with her father's saying, "In life, people are either anchors or lifeboats. They sink you or keep you afloat," and concludes warmly, expressing that she wouldn't know where she would be without them. Lily continues motivating the group, emphasizing that Phil has no one else to save him, and that if they don't act immediately, the opportunity could be lost forever. She asks each of them whether they will be anchors or lifeboats. Inspired by her words, March and Ronnie decide to be lifeboats and join the mission into the sewers. Rich and Marty remain hesitant, still fearful of the dangers. Will arrives at that moment, asking what he has missed and joining the discussion. The scene then shifts to Fuller, who is preparing the soldiers for the mission. He explains that the house on Nabel Street was constructed over an old colonial-era well, and that the 13 Indian artifacts, known as pillars, are buried at different locations throughout Derry, accessible only through the sewers beneath the well. Fuller warns the team that they are in enemy territory and that the creature will exploit their fears. He stresses that they must not freeze, trust nothing, and shoot without hesitation at anything that seems out of place. Inside the Nabeled house, Fuller and Hanlon lead the team into the sewers, with Daniel guiding them toward the pillars and Halloran assisting. As they navigate the dark, murky waters, Halloran hears the whispers of his grandmother and, overcome by the vision, submerges himself. The soldiers lose track of him. Halloran is then transported into a haunting memory, seeing his grandmother approaching and hearing loud footsteps. Suddenly, his grandfather appears with a gun tucked in his waistband, declaring that it is time, an ominous moment that foreshadows the trials the team will face in the sewers.
Hey, Dickie. It's time.
Meanwhile, the soldiers continue desperately searching for Halloran in the sewers. Suddenly, two of them encounter a terrifying apparition resembling a macabre Uncle Sam, who instantly kills them. Despite hearing their screams, the rest of the soldiers press on, still determined to locate Halloran. At the same time, the kids reach the outskirts of the sewers. Lily provides everyone with her mother's pills, which they take, helping them manage the fear that feeds the creature. Ronnie asks Marty to guide them, and the group follows him into the dark, foreboding tunnels. Back with the soldiers, Daniel guides them but attempts to escape mid-mission. Fuller shoots at him, though Daniel is unharmed, but in the chaos, he drops the fragment into the water while fleeing at full speed. Inside Halloran's mind, he experiences a nightmarish confrontation with his supposed grandfather, who claims that secrets are being kept from him. The grandfather insists that Halloran is not as gifted as him, but knows enough from what his grandmother revealed. Meanwhile, Halloran's grandmother warns him not to listen to the grandfather and tries to influence his thoughts. The grandfather shows Halloran a box, claiming he must open it, while the grandmother warns of the pain it will cause. Halloran refuses. The grandfather explains cryptically that the box is in the sphincter of his soul, and that he would find it wherever it was buried. The grandmother cautions him to keep it closed. Ultimately, the supposed grandfather shoots the grandmother in the leg and opens the box himself, laughing ominously. At that moment, Halloran realizes the horrifying truth. This is not his grandfather, but it, disguised to manipulate him. Meanwhile, we see Russo and Hanlon. Russo confesses that he senses something is very wrong, as they still haven't found what they are looking for. Suddenly, Han hears something calling him. He approaches and sees Charlotte, who tells him she is scared, but Russo sees nothing. Only Hanlon perceives her. Russo's flashlight begins to flicker, and suddenly Charlotte transforms into a dark creature that quickly approaches Hanlon. He shoots instantly, and Charlotte falls into the water, smiling just before swimming away. Hanlon warns Russo that he must shoot at anything he sees there, regardless of whether it is his first girlfriend or his school teacher. We then see the kids reaching a dead end, guided by Marty. Apparently, the effects of the pills have completely worn off. They hear the soldiers shouting Halloran's name. March gets scared and tells them they should go back, and at that moment she runs into a body. It is the body of Phil, who is evidently not alive as Marty had told them. He tricked them. They also find the bodies of Susie, Teddy, and even Marty himself. The thing with Marty's appearance watches them closely. They have fallen directly into the trap. The Marty creature begins to sing. Now all the tunnels will serve. The children will never be found there. The back of its head begins to crack, revealing sharp teeth and a mouth emerging from its head. Then the monster spins around a pipe until it transforms into the terrifying Pennywise.
Duck and cover, kiddos.
Lily falls behind, lagging as the other kids sprint for their lives. Hanlon and Russo hear their desperate cries. Hanlon raises his weapon, ready to fire, but the figure approaching is Will, his son. Russo sees it too, and warns Hanlon that what he is seeing is real, not a hallucination. Other kids are coming as well, but Hanlon, convinced it's a trick, ignores him. He's about to shoot, believing his son is part of the illusion. In a split second, Russo steps in, taking the bullet meant for Hanlon. The realization hits Hanlon immediately. He has shot Russo. Enraged and distraught, he calls out to the kids, demanding to know what they are doing there. Russo, bleeding and in pain, asks if his wound is serious. Hanlon tries to reassure him, saying it isn't, though he knows it is fatal. Russo, resigned, tells Hanlon to let him rest and, through tears, whispers his final words. Then he dies in Hanlon's arms. Hanlon orders the kids to leave immediately and carries Russo's body to safety. Meanwhile, we see Lily, who is still lost in the sewers. She reaches another dead end, shouts each of her friends' names, but her calls are in vain. No one hears her. Suddenly, Pennywise appears and mockingly tells her that she couldn't save little Marty. He asserts that she convinced everyone to go into the sewers to see him, which makes her a very good friend. But in reality, she is a very bad daughter. Suddenly, the clown takes the form of her dead, pickled father, running toward her in his frantic style. He stops just at the sight of the dagger that Daniel had dropped on the ground and immediately backs away. Fortunately, this turn saves Lily, who thought it was the end for her. Lily picks up the shiny dagger and realizes that this was what truly scared Pennywise. Elsewhere, Ingrid gets into her car. Glancing in the rearview mirror, she freezes. Hank is sitting in the back seat, having escaped the bus crash. He whispers for her to stay silent, simply start the car, and drive. Obeying without a word, she drives deep into the woods. Once there, the two step out of the car and share a passionate kiss, revealing that Ingrid is the married white woman Hank had previously been involved with, the very lover Charlotte had mentioned. Hank's secrecy wasn't just about his safety. Revealing his location would have meant certain death for him and grave danger for her. Ingrid tells him she saw the news and feared for his life. Hank recounts the chaos. The bus was attacked. Everything happened in an instant, and he still doesn't fully understand what occurred. Ingrid suggests they find a safe place at her house, but Hank refuses, saying it's too risky. She counters that staying in the woods is equally dangerous, as someone will eventually discover him. Hank admits that there is someone who might be able to help him. Later, Ingrid visits Charlotte at the base. She explains that while they don't know each other, they share a mutual friend. If you enjoyed this dark adventure, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our chilling stories. Comment below your favorite moment and share this video with your friends.